Hello everyone, it's your friend Dead Meme here. We're going to play some more Astroneer. I can tell you about the strange object that's kind of doing its own thing in the background there. This is known as the Xenobiology missions. This will allow you to get the only pets and pretty much the only animal life that's available in the game at this point. So you acquire this strange object from the landing pad where you do all your missions. One of the missions requires you to acquire 3 Spallerate, which is the weird purpley ball crystals underground. It's relatively easy to get. It's pretty much one of the very first missions. It'll give you this object, and you can place it down and unpack it somewhere. So something's blocking the area. Let's move you over. There we go. So this machine does require energy and spawns a little bit of debris in and around your base. So later on, as I get a bigger network, I'll just attach it to the full system. But for now, I believe I had a battery for you as well, but no biggie. So we'll clean up this trash. Later on, when we become recycling people, we'll recycle. So this one will have its own little mission board, similar to that of the landing pad here. And as if you noticed, I'm sure I've stressed this several times, there's no oxygenator in this network, so I'm going to be losing air until I eventually get some platforms over here and hook it into the full network, so I don't suffocate. So actions required in the Xeno lab. There's also a port in the back, and that symbol, it's looking for the exo chips, and I've seen a few of them around, so we're gonna go out and we're going to collect a few of them. We'll come back when I show you what you're going to need to do. Okay, we're out and about. I'm going to use my compass to show you what I've discovered. By holding down R, opening up the compass, you're going to see this symbol here. It's like a green little... it's like 3 little boxes sitting next to each other. If we get over to this, I'll show you one of the more valuable resources in the game. Basically, there's going to be these lock boxes, and they're heavily armored. You're going to be unable to access them without TNT. And if I'm really lucky, it's on the surface and I don't have to dig. As nice as the trailer is, or the tractor is, it just does not have great mobility. Alright, here we go. You might need to dig it up a little bit. You can't carry it directly, but you can just kind of pick it up and drop it in order to get yourself moving. Oh, wreckage. So let's get back over where we have some air. Alright, now just to be mean to the various hazardous plants. So I'm carrying some dynamite with me. You'll find this mostly in like wreckage and whatnot, and the scrap piles throughout the world. So these plants, they'll be a jerk to you if you get too close to them. They'll send you flying, take some fall damage. The joke's on them. So by placing the dynamite on, you hold down the F button to deploy, similar to like the boxes that we make in the crafting stations. You're able to kind of set off a countdown. And that's the exo chip. That's one of them at least. Alright. So these exo chips are a rare resource, as you can see on there. Alright, so we're ready to move on to the next part in exobiology. So we've deployed the exobiology lab, which you see back there. At that point, you're going to get the ability to complete the strange object quest. And jumper cables provide it with power. And it gives us, what, I think we get a battery for it? Yeah, one of the temporary ones. As well as power, we need to install an oxygenator. I just built this off a camera. The upside to this, I can stand near this without suffocating. And as you can see, there's like a little slot specifically for it. And now we're able to operate this button. Alright, so now there's a whole bunch of data here. Like basically like a README file, but in reality, let's see if we can find... We may need to complete the quest, and then we can start doing the snail hunting. A breath of fresh air, know thy gastropod. Perfect. So I don't really need this. And the next part looks like it's going to come from the launch pad. Shells on Silva. Okay. So, since we're just going to be picking up shells, I'm not going to bother the big buggy, even though I'm probably going to bump into something I want to pick up. It's pretty much destined at this point. But I find the best place to find these shells are these little wooded areas. We'll probably bump into a whole bunch of them. And I've been scanning some of them as we've been playing, because you do get a whole bunch of science for doing it. Alright, here we are. So, just like those renewable bites, you can scan these guys and get a bit of research. There we go. And shells on Silva is complete. And now we'll head back there and I'll cut to the next part. And of course, we're returning to the launch pad or the landing pad, and we're going to collect the quest reward for shells on Silva. Alright, so we've been provided with a terrarium. It fits in your backpack. The interesting part of this is we'll need to make something with resin. Now, I probably need to unlock it. So in the small backpack slots, we need to find a horn. Small trumpet horn. There we go. And now we'll be able to push Q and cycle through all of the various blueprints we have. Because it is a small item, we're able to craft it on the bag. So now we get to do a little dance with the snail. The terrarium and the horn are ready to go. There's going to be a few other things required. Provide the terrarium with soil and zinc and a bounce vine seed. Okay, we can do that. Soil. So we can drop that in there. So now I gave up my soil, but no biggie. There's plenty in the world. Zinc, it's looking for the refined resource, not the Spallerate. And I'm going to cut to the bounce vine seed. Alright, here's our bounce vine. So they get their name for a reason. Let's see if I can find one that won't hurt me too bad when I step on it, and you'll see where it gets its namesake from. Here we go. So it'll hurt you when you first touch it, unless it wants to make me a liar. There you go. So it gives you a little bounce. Not super damaging, but you do it enough and it will kill you. So there's our bounce vine seeds. We're running out of air. So we're going to need to feed this to the terrarium. As well, the snails want to eat the plant seeds for the most part. but we'll cover a good way to get a whole bunch of them is the keeping the snails happy. There's a lot of great buffs, exceptionally useful. Everything from like a portable oxygen generator without power that takes up only one slot to being even invincible. There's even some that kind of provide a radar for the compass. It shows more additional hidden treasures, so it's definitely worth checking out. But we're going to cut to that now. Okay, back with the terrarium and my good old horn here. We'll drop it in there. As you can see, it's looking for us to complete the quest. Oh, that's too funny. It provides us with one. So now, if I give the terrarium this horn, a little friend of ours will show up. And we'll approach him and we'll begin playing. So if we hold down G, it'll ask you to open the emote wheel. He wants you to dance. So Untouchable is a good dance. Now he'll kind of wander off. You can see him on the map though with the compass. Now he'll ask you to dance for him again. You can unlock various dances throughout. There's some in the store. There's probably some limited time event ones, but I don't really see. You still want to dance? Defriend. There we go. So I don't completely remember what its power was. I believe you need to give him to... Yeah, we need to give him to the lab, and it's going to scan him and tell us what he does. Alright, he's been verified. Tracking power. So, I'm going to cut to the point where I can get him some seeds, and we'll show you what he does. Alright, underground in Silva, we can find these, I believe they're referred to as popcorn plants. So you can pop these guys with the terrain tool, but if you're close to them, that's going to hurt you. And once in a while, you'll find research projects underneath them. So we'll give him a seed, and there we go. Now we know what it does. He'll basically generate light as long as you keep feeding him a seed. So what's really cool about that is it doesn't require energy, and you can even store a seed for the next time he runs out, and he'll consume it on his own, or she, actually. I don't know if the snail has a sex, or if it cares. So now we have a portable light that we can take everywhere. You can mount this onto vehicles, all over the place. It's super helpful. There's some methods of automation for it, but it's a lot of work for something that's easy to do. Like if you're not next to it, you kind of, I'm kind of wondering why you have it on, because it generates light. So why would you bother? So we'll put that back together. And as you can see, I am not driving around anything with cargo and I find something I want to bring back. It's just Murphy's Law, I suppose. So now that we've done that, we'll quickly return to the launch pad or the landing pad. The RTG. Incredibly valuable item. Super worth doing the quest just for that alone. So this generates 1 unit of power no matter what. Has no fuel inputs. You can carry it on your back because it's 1 tall. Or it only takes up 1 slot. You place these plants in the ground and hold down F. You'll plant them. So now I can have a supply of seeds for my little snail, the gastropod, I believe they like to call them. And let's get a hold of him. Gaze. So you can play with them. It's a nice little treat. They definitely they did a good job. Like you don't typically get minions that are helpful. Like minions for like every MMO seems to have them these days. Minions galore, not overly helpful. But I'm going to cut to something a little more interesting. It has a bit to do with these railway items here. So we'll cut to that. See you in a bit. Alright, I did a video about this earlier, probably less than a week now. It describes how to create a very simple and limited setup that's like a semi-automation. But since we are getting started in the Let's Play sort of arena here, I'm going to do a bit more of a description. So when we look at this, we can see on the bar here, it tells us it's idle. The train length is 2 of 6. The train draws 4 units of power at the moment. If I take it off, you're going to see it takes 3. So the more cars that are added, the more power this takes. And in the beginning of the game, it's somewhat of a big deal. Power usage can be pretty. You may not be able to generate enough in order to use this and run your entire system, at least at an efficient level, because things don't stop, they just run really slow unless you completely run out of power. And that's why I've done this here. Like, this will give me an idea of how well or how healthy my power system's doing, right? So this is my generation, what little storage I've got. So we're going to head over. As you can see, when I rode the train, my network, I've got one of these guys here. I can swap the direction in which the train's going. So I didn't cover this in my previous video. Since I've got the train set active to only go in that direction, but what if I recall it here? What's going to happen? So the upside to the trains, with no additional automation, I can get this car to come to me without having to stress out about trying to find a way to run all the way back. And this will give me easy access back to my base so I can run home and drop off this cool bit of research that I didn't manage to bring home. Now the next thing, I did cover this in the video, but tethers and whatnot, because it's connected to my network. As you can see, there's the power line and the blue bar is oxygen. So my tethers will be oxygenated through the network. I can as well plug stuff in. So if I'm traveling underground and I encounter one of those boxes with the Thunderbolt on it, I can power it up and take the goodies inside. So I'm going to build a small little network, look around, and show you like the potential this thing's got in the beginning of the game. Might as well do a little sneak peek for like all 6 of you who are watching. This is my kit for traveling to other planets. I'm gonna I think I'll visit DeSolo, the moon of Silva. I don't see a reason to get too complicated. I imagine it's what the developer expects you to do. So I'll give this as like a little bit of a teaser. I've got a cool kit built up. I've got solid fuel thrusters, an oxygenator trailer, some power generation. So when we go and visit DeSolo, I'm kind of set. I'm not going to struggle as bad. But that's for another time. Maybe tomorrow's episode if I can find enough time to get around to it. I've got some exciting things to show you underground. As you dig up these popcorn plants once in a while, you can get a research project from underneath them, not just their seeds, but something to keep an eye out when you're playing and you're underground especially. You'll notice there's like an input over there. It kind of looks like the inputs you would see on the generators I've got on the surface. So let's take a run down there and we'll probably find something of big value, and yeah, we have. So this is a generator that requires materials that we can't even build or get on Silva. The amount of power it pumps out is pretty big, But as you can imagine, there's a bit of a catch. It requires a refined material, but the upside is that refined material can be made with organic. So we're going to return home with this big treasure. Like, this is a phenomenal find. As well, when I was over there, I believe I saw some spallerate and other mineable minerals. But let's take a ride. I'll let you see what I've done so far. So some people might ask too, like, why would you build the more expensive, like, pseudo network as opposed to, say, the tether network? Because this is just fun. Like, if you're doing something in a game and you're not having fun doing it, like, I'm not sure why you would do it. Right? So, like, that was more fun than just dragging it upstairs without, as you could just walk it up like this. But why bother? Like, what's the point of that? And it's easier with the trains to bring back like large items like this one. Like, I could never return with this and that research material without making 2 trips. And like, I don't want to make 2 trips. Like, in real life and in my games, I guess I'm lazy in both. But I'm going to continue this network. We're going to poke around down there and see if we can find some more cool things to cover. General tip for being resourceful, using the things around you. So my backpack got full. I ran quite a ways down a tether network, and I really wish I can carry more stuff home because my bags are completely jammed. So I stuffed some laterite onto some broken debris, and now I'm going to carry it toward where I left my train. Not ideal, but you know, it's better than making 2 trips. And then this piece of scrap will be near your train. You can return for it later when you're ready to start the recycling portion of the game. Because it is, it sounds silly, but recycling material, it's definitely worthwhile. You get the trading post currency, the scrap metal, and you can save yourself a lot of headache later on in the game when you travel to certain planets that are mineral poor and you really need a certain mineral to go through your grand designs. But that's just a simple little tip, thought I'd throw that in there. So, what happens when you die in this game? Well, I'm going to show you. I popped some popcorn plants while digging for some metals, like a dummy, and I popped out of my shelter here. So, it's time to run back to my body, but since I died really close, I can call up the railroad and just ride it back. So, yeah, me being lazy. Well, while we're waiting for that, let's print up the large printer. So, the large printer, I'm going to need it to travel to the other planets to make some of the vehicles that can travel through space. Too bad I didn't clip my death. It was pretty funny. But as you can see, all the goodies I found, I can just easily plop back in. Death's relatively meaningless in this game. You drop the equipment that's in your bag and attach to your gun. Like, it's more of a nuisance than anything. There we go. So, we'll just take these off. And we'll ride her back down. Alright, we're approaching my body, and you can see there's like the symbol for a dead astroneer, which is me. They just 3D printed a new one, so there you go, and that is essentially the consequences for death. Now I think you can eventually destroy it as well, or the body, but I don't know if that's a big deal to anyone. If so, it probably just goes away after a while. But other than that, I figured I'd show it to you. Well, I think I'm going to end today here. For the most part, I just want to quickly go over the Xenobiology lab again. It requires power, which is what we've done here. It requires an oxygen supply, but don't be a dummy like me and try to plug in from your network. It requires its own components. Every time you make progress with the Xenobiology lab, just come back here and double check what you need to do, right? So in order to usually access the next part of the quest, get the terrarium or whatever it is, you're gonna have to come back here, even though this really should be more of the centerpiece. But other than that, hopefully you guys enjoyed watching. I'm gonna keep playing, screw around with the rails some more. Probably next episode tomorrow, I'm going to head to the solo, or at least prepare for it, and hopefully you guys will be around to watch me do that. But hopefully you're having a good time, whatever it is you're doing, whatever games you play or watching this. See you all later.